From the FSU College of Law, I'm Alva Striplin.
And I'm Jeff Kahn.
Whether you're thinking about law school or are in law school and have no idea what's next or how you're going to get there, we're here to help.
From deciding what classes to sign up for as a 2L or hoping for that key internship that will lead to the next big thing, these students are
taking care of business. Today's guest is Marissa Truskowski. Marissa, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. We're glad you're here today. So tell me a little bit about yourself. I know that you are a student here at FSU College of Law, but I know very little else about you. So give me the Marissa's life story in 20 seconds or less.
Okay.
No pressure.
No pressure. I was born and raised just north of Atlanta, Georgia, and I went to Georgia Tech for undergrad, and that's where I got my degree in media and communication. I was also working towards a pre-law minor, but that got cut short because I accidentally graduated early. It's a long story. But so there I was really introduced to writing a ton and, through my pre-law classes, kind of the basics of how to read a case. I actually took a business law class in undergrad, legal aspects of business, that really kind of set me on this path. And then I came here. So I don't know if that was 20 seconds. But.
That's okay. I find that very interesting because I kind of maybe just a preconceived notion of people that want media, communications, not veering into law. So was that always kind of the plan? I see you're taking entertainment law. Is that where you want to head?
Yes, that's kind of the direction that I've seen myself going in and that I continue to kind of follow. That was the really common thing is people are like, media and communication, and then you're going to go to law school? Why? But really, it was honestly super helpful because all that you do as a communications and media major is just read day in and day out. And you read these really arduous things or these really complex things, and then you have to turn around and write about it in a clear way that people can understand, which is also how the law works. And so to me, I was like, yeah, no, this makes perfect sense. And I think that that's one of the things that's really helped me in law school is having that strong writing background from undergrad. So I'm very pro liberal arts, as you can tell, and I think it's great and writing is great. And yeah, I want to go into entertainment law, intellectual property, that kind of field. So having some sort of basis in that side of it. And I also grew up doing ballet, musical theater, stuff like that. So very into media and entertainment generally as a person, and that's kind of where I've been homing my legal skills.
Nice. So why Florida State? How'd you end up here? I mean, Georgia's, they're our neighbor. We're pretty much part of Georgia. We're that close. But why Florida State? How'd you get here?
Yeah. So I had a faculty advisor in undergrad at Georgia Tech who had gone to a conference with a bunch of the intellectual property professors from here. And he just was he came back and he was like, you have to apply to Florida State. And I, at the time, I had the blinders up. I was like, I want to stay in Georgia. I'm already in Atlanta. I don't want to leave anywhere. And he's like, no, you have to go. You have to see it for yourself. Go tour. And I toured and I absolutely fell in love.
Nice.
This was one of those places where every law school has the whole package of we're a family, we have fun here. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really believe anyone until I came here.
Oh my
This was
gosh.
the first place that felt really genuine. And I was right. So
Drop the mic. We're done here. That's it. That's it. All the way Florida State. Go Noles.
Go Noles.
That's so great. And so you still get to go home every now and then. It's close enough
Yes.
to drive. You still have family in Atlanta.
I do.
Any lawyers in the family?
None,
You're going to be the first.
I am going to be the first.
Very, very cool. Very cool. Well, let me turn it over. What do you think, Jeff?
Well, and again, you're a bit unusual in coming to law school and thinking, I want to go into business and I want to go into entertainment law. Have you found, we do have an entertainment law class, as you mentioned, you're taking it, but, an IP is kind of a limited curriculum. You're into the liberal arts. What other classes have you taken, business, outside of business, that you've enjoyed, that you think is going to help you in that career?
Definitely a lot of the foundational classes, I found myself really surprised with how much I enjoyed them because I did come in with a very specific I don't want to say narrow mindset, but I had a specific goal in mind. And so I didn't really anticipate enjoying these foundational like 1L classes as much as I did. And then also really everything, even if it's not necessarily in the specific, I guess, field of law that I was looking at, everything kind of builds on itself in law school, as I'm sure you both know. So Civ Pro was really something that I loved just because also I like puzzles, and to me civil procedure just seems like one of those classes that's like a puzzle, and that definitely is helpful in terms of like civil litigation, especially, you know, copyright infringement, trademark infringement, things like that. Like they really are so obviously interrelated on the litigation front. And also just as far as the other like business law classes I've taken, it's all kind of interconnected. Like I'm in antitrust law right now, and one of the cases that we learned about is the ASCAP and BMI music publishing licenses and how they're operating on an antitrust consent decree from the, I want to say Second Circuit, somewhere in New York, because, you know, music things. And it's all just, even things that you wouldn't expect are interwoven and interrelated. Like they really all just do build on top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And we noticed one of the things you're doing this semester is moot court.
Yes.
You're doing a competition in March, is that right?
I am, the Siegenthaler-Sutherland Moot Court Cup.
And so describe that. What are you doing for that? What's the issue? You know, what's the issue on? What kind of law?
Yeah, so it's a constitutional law problem, and it has a free speech component and a free exercise of religion component. And our problem was released back in November. Our brief was due back in January, and now we're in the oral argument phase where it's just you get up, you argue both sides. So even though my partner and I wrote a brief on one side, you know, you have to be prepared to argue the best points of both sides. And you kind of have to think quick on your feet. You have to get really, really comfortable with your topic, do a lot of research so that you're calm and cool and collected up there. And, you know, even though you have a roadmap or like a speech of things that you want to say, you never really get to finish the roadmap because, you know, your guest judges or your panelists will jump in and ask you questions that are always really well thought out, or like crazy hypotheticals that lead you down a road that you hadn't anticipated. So that's kind of the process that I'm in right now, is you're trying to find all the rabbit holes and fill them,
And
or
they
have
haven't-
like a good answer.
They don't give you those questions ahead of time, right? It is just
No.
on the spot.
It is entirely on the spot.
That seems nerve-wracking. How do you handle that?
Well, luckily, having a theatrical background, I kind of approach it from that perspective where I'm like, this is just improv, you know? Like, you're going to try to trip me up. You're going to ask me a hard question, but, like, I'm going to keep this cool smile plastered on my face, and I'm going to try to come up with the best answer I can in the moment. So that's moot court.
And do you think, I mean, it sounded like, I mean, sometimes when we think of business lawyers, we think of, you know, in the office, drafting contracts, you know, planning transactions. This is, you're doing something, obviously, what we would normally describe as litigation. Do you think this is still helpful to you, though, if you go into the media law and you become a kind of planner? I mean, it helps you, as you said, kind of think on your feet. Is there other areas you think that, or are there other reasons you enjoy the moot court, even though it's, again, perhaps not the path you're going as a transactional lawyer?
Yeah, it's definitely, like we kind of mentioned, it helps you think fast on your feet. It really helps you kind of explore all the different aspects of a problem. Like, you have to be prepared to think of basically every possible contingency, which can be kind of daunting. But if you use these skills that you've learned during law school, or at least this is what I'd like to think. If you use these skills that you learned during law school and you can articulate an issue and articulate the solution well, and kind of, you know, have a 360-degree view of a problem, then I think that that's going to help in whatever field of law you end up in.
No, I think that's great. And you know, again, we sometimes try to have this dichotomy between litigators and transactional lawyers. But as a transactional lawyer, and that's what I was, obviously, coming up as a tax lawyer, we got to remember, too, that our goal is to avoid litigation. So it's always a good idea to know what issues are coming up or what we need to deal with, because our goal is to try to avoid those hurdles. Mm-hmm. So I think I always encourage even those who are, I just want to be a transactional lawyer. I don't want I don't want to be in court. I'd say, well, you should take evidence. You should take, these moot court because these things are going to help you no matter what. It's that liberal arts education, which I think is fantastic.
I love that you pointed out so many things you learn in law school you can use and apply in your life in different ways, maybe unanticipated ways. But what's something you learned in law school that you think you probably will never use? Anything?
Goodness. I don't really think I can say with certainty that I'm never going to, because even taking antitrust, I, was like, oh, this is cool. Antitrust seems like a fun class to take. I want to know more about the subject, but I didn't really anticipate it being relevant at all. And then literally in like the second class, we're learning about copyright and like sports law cases. I was like, oh, never mind. I stand corrected. So don't really know if I can say that there's nothing. I mean, maybe criminal stuff. That might be the one thing just because.
Let's hope. Right.
Oh gosh, yes. Fingers crossed. But yeah, I think maybe that's the one thing. And even in my job over the summer, I worked with a federal magistrate judge. Even there, like you have kind of everything. You get exposed to everything. So even then, having taken criminal law was helpful. So I can't rule anything out.
What kind of stuff did you see in your summer job?
Yeah, it was a lot of employment cases, criminal cases, constitutional law cases. Working with the federal magistrate judge, I was mainly doing motions to dismiss and motions for summary judgment and kind of diving into the issues from that perspective. But I also just got to watch a lot of court proceedings that were happening, which was really cool to like sit in on like a federal jury trial and like watch that play out.
Okay, but get serious. Like, really, what did you see? Like, what was the craziest thing without breaking any confidentiality?
Oh my gosh.
Like, no names.
No names.
But
no
what's
names.
something that stands out in your mind as, holy cow, I cannot believe I just witnessed that? Anything?
Some witnesses will get on the stand and they will just say whatever they want to in the moment. And you can see the like quiet panic behind the lawyer's eyes, especially too, it was over the summer, so everyone was wearing a mask. And so you can see that they're trying to keep their cool as this witness is up there just completely going off on a tangent or doing whatever it is that witnesses say on the stand. So that was interesting. I also got to watch a lot of mediations, which that was just cool from kind of a different perspective where it has more of a collaborative feel, obviously, than like traditional court. So that was something too that I wasn't not crazy. It wasn't crazy, but that also was an aspect of it that I wasn't really anticipating that was really cool.
Was there anything that you did that summer that surprised you in the sense of, oh, well, law school didn't prepare me for this, or I didn't get a sense that this was what happened? I mean, you talked about mediation, and we focus so much again on appellate briefs or appellate opinions and litigation. Was it something different that you wish that law school talked a little bit about more, or a surprise, or is it just kind of everything was for preparation for this? Everything
was honestly, I felt really, I kind of went into it having the opposite feeling where I was like, oh my goodness, do I actually know anything? Like, this is a lot of real world stuff that is happening in front of me. I don't know if I'm prepared. And then lo and behold, it was fine. I was prepared. And I guess one thing, this is anyone else or like prospective students listening, do not sleep on blue booking. Blue booking is actually very important. You are gonna want to be very good at the blue book. And so thankfully, I was prepared for that from legal writing, but like so much of what you do as like a judicial intern or as a clerk is legal writing, and that really heavily relies on the blue book and a lot of formalistic things that you have to cover. But I still felt prepared for it. That was just one of those things where I was like, oh my goodness, I'm carrying my blue book with me to work. I wasn't expecting this, but here I am.
That's so funny. So what do you see yourself doing after graduation? Where do you want to be? 5 years from now? 10 years from now?
Yeah. So I have a very open mind. I like everything, which is kind of my issue. I can see myself doing a lot of different things. But I'm interested in clerking. So if I could work with the judge as like a term clerk. That would be something that I'd be interested in. I also have a job this summer with being a summer associate with a firm in Atlanta that focuses in IP.
Oh, cool.
And so I'll be kind of in the litigation side and the transactional side at that firm. So basically, that's the general path that I see myself going on. But again, like best laid plans, I always try to keep an open mind because you surprise yourself.
I want to leave the South. I think when I think entertainment law, I think Los Angeles or New York or maybe a bigger city where there's more of that going on. But I guess you could be anywhere.
Yeah. And I think honestly, excuse me, Atlanta is one of those places that is really up and coming in terms of media and intellectual property. So that's kind of my goal right now is to also, I want to get home, but I can see myself going to a New York or California in the future.
Awesome. And what advice would you give to someone out there listening, applying to law school that wants to be here? They want to sit in your seat and be on this podcast. What piece of advice you would give them?
It feels very, very hard when you're applying to law school. Everything seems like an almost insurmountable hurdle. Just, keep your head down, get the work done, keep pushing, and it'll all fall into place.
Okay. It's good advice. All right. This is a really tough part. The Think Fast series. I've got a series of yes or no kind of quick answer for you questions just to get to know a little bit more about Marissa. But I'm going to go off the script here because you already saw these. So we're gonna go somewhere else. All right. How do you take your coffee?
Lots of cream and sugar.
Lots of cream and sugar. Any
A
coffee
lot.
in that?
Barely. Not if I can help it.
Let me have a splash of coffee with my cream and sugar. Is that where we're going?
That's essentially it.
Okay, perfect. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Night owl all the way.
Okay. What's your most bizarre study habit?
I like to start watching Netflix series during finals.
What do you watch?
Anything. Any new series that I can like pseudo binge. I find that it's a really good way to break up my days when I'm like cramming for finals because like it's really easy to be like, okay, I'm just going to like power through the day and then you burn out. So I'm like, no, I will, study for 2 hours, watch a 1 hour episode, study for 2 hours, watch a 1 hour episode. I got through all 4 seasons of New Girl last spring.
Love New Girl. Love New Girl.
So good.
Love it. Just the theme song just makes you happy.
It's so fun. I love Zooey Deschanel.
I know, she's really fun. So for those other students out there listening that want to come to law school and are wondering, what should I pack when I get there? What's the most important piece of clothing in your law school wardrobe?
A fun blazer, which I know sounds like an oxymoron, but they're real. They're out there. If you find a nice blazer, because a lot of law school has like networking events or just things that you want to kind of dress up for, but you still want to be able to show your personality, find like a blazer with a fun print is my word of advice.
Where'd you get your fun blazer? Any store recommendations?
H&M has really cheap blazers.
That you are spot on. H&M is the great go-to
They
affordable
really are.
wardrobe for the new girl, that is the new working girl.
Yeah. Totally.
Yes, I agree. 100%.
I think New Girl is the theme here.
That is the theme.
We may have to opt for that music as we exit this show. All right. And last quick question. Favorite food while you're in law school? What is it? What's your go-to?
Oh, my goodness. A local donut place in town has really good donuts.
What is it?
Sodo. Oh, really good donuts.
Good. Yeah.
So would have to say that's a good study snack.
This pretty much maxes out your calorie count like all in one sitting.
Yeah,
for
but
the
it's
day.
worth it.
It's totally worth it. I would
totally
agree
worth it.
with that.
No regrets.
Which one do you like?
They have a honey lavender.
Oh, yeah.
Like sugar one. It's so good.
So good. I know where I'm having lunch.
Yep.
All right. Well, Marissa, this was lovely. We enjoyed having you on the show today. Jeff, any
Yeah,
final
thank you very
thoughts?
much. No, that was great.
All right. Thank you.
Thank y'all for having me.
This podcast made possible by a generous donation from Jeff and Aggie Stoops.
Special thanks to FSU College of Law's Professor Sean Bairn for creating our theme music.